So why did Congress let our government funding get down to the wire? They've known about this for months when the deadline is, because they're the ones who actually set it. December 11th at midnight. And Senator Mike Lee isn't wild about what happened in the Senate today. He calls it a legislative grab bag, and Senator Lee joins us. Nice to see you, sir. And today there was a defense bill in the Senate. It passed, but you voted no.
I did. You know, when you have a 1,600-page bill and it comes to the floor without ever having gone through a public committee hearing or a public floor debate where amendments could be offered, you've got a problem. When you have to vote for it and pass it almost to find out what's in it, that should be a warning sign.
How can anybody in good conscience really vote for something like that? I mean, and I had this objection with Obamacare. If you're not going to read it, or at least have your staff sit down and read and brief it to you very carefully, why do we even need to send anybody to Washington? I mean, you could do it from home.
Oh, that's right. And that's exactly the point. And most of the people in Congress, most of the 435 House members and 100 senators don't need to be there. You just have a small handful of staffers, maybe a couple of senators and a couple of congressmen, they get it done. Those are the people who are reading it, writing it, and know what's in it. Everybody else is left in the dark.
You called it a legislative grab bag. What didn't you like about it?
Well, you know, this was the best of our country in many ways because it's supporting our armed services. But it also represented the worst of Washington. For example, it had tacked onto it 500 pages of things that had nothing to do with defense authorization, things that just had to do with pet political projects that people wanted to get passed. And those deserve to be discussed independently of national defense, and we need to be able to proceed with national defense on the merits of those issues.
So would you, if you were in the House, you're in the Senate, obviously, but if you were in the House, would you be Team Pelosi, Maxine Waters, and even Senator Elizabeth Warren, because they don't like the budget bill that's being voted on in the House because it's been tacked on some banking provisions that have nothing to do with the budget, but which they claim is just it's a way to water down Dobbs-Frank.
Yeah, so you're referring to the CR Omnibus, or Cromnibus as some are calling it. That's another 1,600 or 1,700-page bill, and one that's been released only in the last 48 hours. It was released at 8 p.m. Tuesday night. They added another 100 pages or so to it in the last 24 hours. This is a big problem because here again, we've got special favors for Wall Street and for K Street and no real special favors for Main Street or middle-class America.
All right, now here's going to be the headline tomorrow. For the people that hate you, they're going to say, Senator Mike Lee doesn't like the military, voted against the defense budget.
Absolutely false. That's absolutely untrue.
But do you think that's going to be the headline someplace?
No, I don't. And look, the truth is I'm a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, and I was involved in the markup of this. But
I'm not saying it's fair, but do you think that you're going to be accused of going against the military?
I don't think so, because I don't think there is any American, I don't think there are any credible journalists out there who understand what's in this bill, who are going to characterize it that way, because that's not what this is. This is not a defense bill. It is a hodgepodge grab bag of goodies for members of Congress.
You're a lot more optimistic about how the media will treat any vote than I am. Because
I have every confidence in the American media's ability to tell the truth.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you do. All right, so the defense bill gets passed, and now the Senate waits for this bill to come over from the House. It has to be voted on. When it gets to the Senate, what's going to happen to the budget?
Well, we'll see what happens. It's not clear at all that it's going to pass in the House of Representatives in its current form. I think what may end up happening is that we'll end up with a short-term continuing resolution, a short-term spending bill that takes us into the early part of next year, allowing the new Republican majority in the Senate and the expanded Republican majority in the House to set new priorities at the beginning of the year while pushing back on executive amnesty. Or
if they want to do a short-term because they're going to run out of money at midnight, maybe they could do a 24-hour or 48-hour short-term and stay here and work on it.
That is another possibility, and that is one that is widely rumored to be in the works. In other words, that we could have a 2 or 3 day continuing resolution short-term spending bill followed by a 2 or 3 month spending bill.
Well, or if they didn't, or if they, why don't they just stay until they get a real one done instead of just keep passing? I mean, I know you're in the Senate and the House, but the idea that they keep passing these short-term ones, why don't they just stay and get their jobs done?
I think that would be a very good idea, especially if we were to take up the issue of creating a spending restriction for the administration so that it can't impose its illegal redefinition of immigration law, granting amnesty for people who are not entitled to be here under existing law.
Do you, in general, do you have any problem to the fact that so much is voted on without being read?
Absolutely. I think it's malpractice. I think it's legislative malpractice. I mean, you, Greta, as a lawyer, would never sign your name to a brief in court that you hadn't read. And so, too, I think it should be the case with lawmakers. We shouldn't vote for something that we haven't read or that at least we haven't skimmed through and had our staff read so that we understand the whole of what's in it.
All right. What percentage of the U.S. Senate who voted on the defense bill today do you think read the whole bill?
I don't know. I make a point never to speak for my colleagues.
Oh,
I don't know who may have read it.
Do you know
I will say
anybody who's read it?
This has been out for only a few days. It would be a Herculean feat to get through 1,600 pages in just the few days that's been available for the public record. And that is exactly the problem with this kind of lawmaking. We need to get back to the regular order where things go through committee and they're debated and amended on the floor.
Right, so you're sort of like with Elizabeth Warren on the other side of the political spectrum about this tonight, a little bit.
Yeah, yes. Typically, people don't associate the two of us, but I see your point.
Anyway, well, Senator, there's a lot of activity over on the House side tonight. Nice to see you, sir, and we'll see what happens. Thank you, sir.